Why does this person seem to earn more money and I work, and I don't seem to get ahead?
I think that the mind, the conscious mind, unconscious mind is just something that we do not explore enough. Hi, everyone. It's Shaelene McInnis here with the Ontario Wellness Network and with Books in Line Accounting Services. The Ontario Wellness Network magazine, of course, is focusing on wellness. And one of my past guests has suggested that I speak to this current guest. Her name is Karen Jones. We've already been having some conversations. I think she has some wonderful things to share with people. And I always love someone who has something practical to suggest to the listeners. So please, I'm going to ask Karen to introduce herself because this is about her, and I'm now going to take it over. So Karen, please tell us who you are and who you serve.
Good morning. My name is Karen Jones, and my passion, if you like, my mission that ended up showing itself through a series of events in my life has been to support people in breaking through their unconscious mind and their limiting beliefs. And finding tools that I have gained myself over 30 years of working through my own healing journey and working through my own limiting beliefs and what blocks that I had. I have an array of tools to be able to support people and actually give them an understanding on what the unconscious mind is, how it holds us in place, how it keeps us in a mind loop, and how you can break free from that and recreate something. I mean, we hear all the time about The Secret, and all you have to do is think positively. And that's only one aspect of it. So if you're thinking positively, that's great. But if the unconscious mind, every time you think positively, tells you that's never going to happen, then this is where you're going to get pulled back to every single time.
I'd like to talk about a couple of things there. First of all, I'd like to discuss limiting beliefs. If you could explain what that is, because I do know, but I would love for everyone to really understand limiting beliefs. And then I'd like to hear about your story and how you got into the work that you're doing now. So can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Good, perfect.
So limiting beliefs is anything from a conversation that we constantly have in our head with, I'm thick and stupid, nothing ever works for me. Oh my God, I feel fat in that. I don't know why I can't lose weight. I work so hard at it. Everybody seems to have their life together and I don't. Why does this person seem to earn more money and I work, and I don't seem to get ahead? It's any story that brings you down, that makes you feel small and limits who you are. And there are so many that we use. There's a huge array of them, from like I said, thick and stupid. That was mine. That was my limiting belief.
Oh,
yes, that was one of my limiting beliefs. There's no good men out there. There's no good women out there. All the good people are taken. You know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. You know, all of these are limiting beliefs that we have that direct us to how we show up in our own lives and how we show up to create what it is that we say we want to create.
Right.
The unconscious mind is always going to pull you back to what it has always survived. And I'll start with sharing my story with you, and it'll kind of help a little bit. So I grew up in the UK, and I grew up being able to connect to spirit and see spirit. But my young life, my entire family was, oh, Karen's got an active imagination. You know, you've just got an active imagination. Or if I was emotional about things, I used to get told off for being emotional all the time.
Yeah.
So this kind of pushed me down smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was raised with one of my parents. My mum suffered from, she was bipolar. She was manic depressive, and she was unmedicated. So my entire family always revolved around taking care of my mum, making sure my mum's world was happy, because when my mum's world was happy, the entire household was happy.
Right.
And I grew up just wanting to help people, just wanting to be able to support people. And that my dad always used to tell me, I picked up all the waifs and strays, and I picked up all the people that were broken, or whatever words he would use. But it's all I ever wanted to do. And I ended up going into hairdressing when I left school at 16. And I did that for many years until I was in a huge car accident that actually changed my life.
Mm.
And the car accident was so big that it caused a partial Horner's syndrome. So the spinal cord was pinched. And I ended up having to have surgery to fuse my neck. And I spent 3 months in a wheelchair, and I ended up having bone grafting, which left me with a permanent limp. And the business that I had, because I was a self-employed hairdresser, just dissolved. I couldn't do it anymore.
No.
I was in so much pain. And I ended up on morphine. I was given morphine to manage the pain. And I did that, but prior to that, I always used to love to dance. So I would take morphine and I would have a couple of glasses of wine on top of that so that I could go and actually feel like I was human again, and connecting back to a part of my life where I could go out and dance and have fun and that kind of thing. But the pain level always increased the following day or day after, because I was just masking the pain.
Right.
And this went on for many years. And eventually I started going to the spiritualist church near where I lived. And I got introduced to somebody who did Reiki. And I'd never, ever heard of Reiki before. So I asked what that was. And I started to go to do Reiki, receive Reiki to try and help manage the pain, so that I would be able to get myself off painkillers, because they were not good for me. The morphine just made me suppress my energy, and you just felt like you was a zombie walking around and not really interacting in life. And then I had 3 small children that I was also taking care of.
Yes.
So I started doing the Reiki that managed to get me off the morphine. And I ended up going to see a consultant who told me that by the time I was 50, I would be permanently in a wheelchair. And I got angry, and I got angry enough to really do something with my life.
Yeah.
So I then got my Reiki level 1, Reiki level 2. And then when I was 40 years old, I moved to Canada, which is where I am now. And I moved here with a walking stick, so a cane. So I used a cane all the time, because sometimes I'd lose the feeling in my feet, and I didn't know where my feet were, and I'd fall over. Anyway, I met a lady here that introduced me to cranial sacral. And I actually had a past life experience, which I'd never, ever had before. I didn't even know really what they were when I had this cranial sacral. And this experience that I had, I was a male running across a battlefield, and a spear was coming through the air and went right through my right hip. And I told the practitioner this was what I was seeing. It was like a movie in my head. And she said, well, pull the spear out. And I said, I can't, I'm dying. She said, no, pull the spear out. So I visualized myself pulling the spear out. And I just relaxed and went back into the cranial sacral until it finished. Came back, told my husband about it, and never thought anything more about it.
Right.
And when I woke up the following morning, I walked across the bedroom to go and get ready for work, and my husband called me back, and I didn't want to go back, and I was in a rush to get ready for work, and he said, no, come back. And as I walked across the bedroom floor, he asked me if I'd noticed anything, and I said no. And he said, your limp's gone.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
it had
amazing.
gone overnight. Like, I was just blown away. But this opened up a massive door for me. Like, it gives me chills just talking about it. A massive door for me, because it's like, okay, well, if that happened, how can I access that?
Right. Yeah.
So I very shortly afterwards, I got, I know I'm always guided where I need to go. That's one thing that I've learned. And I went to the Glebe where there was a big garage sale going on. And
Yes.
I walked down a street and there was a guy there doing sound therapy, and I sat down and I had this mini session, and instantaneously I knew that I should do this. So they access me to frequency and sound, and that every single organ in our body has its own unique frequency. Everything, our heart,
Yeah.
our lungs, our liver, our spleen, our spine, everything has its own unique frequency. And we can align and bring these frequencies back into balance.
Right.
So I spent many years diving into sound frequency, and I eventually went to America and trained to be a facilitator so I could train other people to do sound therapy. And got introduced to binary beats and all of these sound frequencies that you can listen to. And Dr. Emoto, and like the story goes on, and how we can imprint everything that we say into water that comes up as a sacred geometry pattern. So I did an experiment with some people that I was actually doing a tuning fork class with.
Yes.
Had them say positive things and negative things into a glass of water.
Well.
And at the end of the day, everything that they said to the negative water smelled like stagnant water. The other one was sweet. Anyway, this kind of moved me on into wanting to know more about the unconscious mind, more about past lives, more about frequency and sound, and how we could actually heal our own body.
Yes, that
because
is
we give all
amazing.
of our power away. Yeah, we give our power away to somebody else. But I wanted to know, how can I bring that back to me?
Oh no, you're 100% right. I'm thinking of the healing that you're talking about, and I think that the mind, the conscious mind, unconscious mind, is just something that we do not explore enough. You know, it's like, oh, I don't feel well, I'll go see the doctor. It's like, instead of going, wait, I don't feel well, what is really going on? And then and looking at all the different ways. I know it's a, but I want to ask a question on that. When you were talking about, you know, that we get stuck in these thoughts, that we get stuck in our way of thinking, and you always reverting back to that way of thinking. How is it that someone can catch themselves and go, wait a minute, no, that's a limiting belief? Like, is there a way to, you know, stop that in its tracks? Because I know I would love to do that. I think to myself, when I've talked before when I've spoken with others about limiting beliefs, I would never want my children to think that in their heads. I mean, I'm sure they do. I wouldn't want to say that out loud to like my best friend, or, you know, I think we're so hard on ourselves
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely.
Sometimes. Right. And I'd love to know, is there a way to stop that and go, hey, wait a minute, no, and then change?
Yeah.
I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, one of the things that I share with my clients is, first of all, you need the awareness.
Yes.
And very often people are not, because we are so used to a conversation going on in our head.
Yes.
We don't even know how to separate ourselves from that conversation.
Yes.
Something can happen and you can board that catastrophic train of thinking and be 15 years into the future and your life's a complete disaster, and all it is a thought.
Yeah.
So one of the ways, once people have the awareness that they have this conversation going on in their head,
Yes.
and recognize the type of limited belief thinking and how they berate and talk to themselves or about themselves, I ask them to name their inner critic.
Give it a name. Okay.
Give it a name, because your inner critic, that unconscious program, is everything that your younger self experienced and created a story about.
Right.
So once I ask them to name their inner critic, give it a name, and I've had names, you know, like Captain Hook, or Judge and Jury, or Moody Mona. You know, people come up with all kinds of names. But
Right.
once they give the inner critic a name and that
Love that.
conversation starts, they go, oh, wait a minute, that's Moaning Myrtle or whatever name they gave it.
Right. Right.
That's not me.
Right. So you're separating you from that
So I
thought.
asked
Oh, I think that's
them,
a great
yeah, I
idea.
asked them, once you recognize, let's say Moaning Myrtle, once you recognize that Moaning Myrtle is now in the conversation, you stop her, you
Mhm.
say, thank you very much, that worked for me then, but it's not working for me now. I'm choosing something different.
I love that. I love the empowerment of that sentence. I am choosing. I love those words. I say that all the time, those words. I'll say that to even to my daughters. It's like, okay, well, what are you going to choose to do about that? So
Yeah.
because then they realize that they need to make a decision, but that they get to make the decision. Like, okay, well, my friends are really mean to me and they did this. Okay, well, what are you going to choose to do about it?
Yeah.
And because I just want them to feel empowered, empowered, empowered. I love that. I'd
Yeah.
like to talk about some upcoming work that you have coming up because I know that you do workshops
Mm-hmm.
in person. I know that you're going to start also doing online workshops, which I think is so needed right now, especially everything to do with COVID. And I talk about this frequently, which is exactly why I started the Wellness Magazine and the Wellness Network, is because I think there's such a dire need for healing throughout the world. So anything that you're doing, I'd like to hear about that because I want to share that with the audience.
Absolutely. So, with a very close friend of mine, Margaret Dennis, who's
Hmm.
also a coach,
Yep.
she and I have several workshops coming up.
Yeah.
So, we have in November, we have a series of workshops coming up in Stittsville, and that's at Capitol Crystal,
Hmm.
the main street of Stittsville, where they can find the information for that. And we have a series of 5 workshops coming up. One of them starts off with an introduction to personal healing and personal power.
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
People don't even know what that is.
Yep.
And then the next one is, now I know that I'm energy, what do I do with it? And the one after that is using tools. You can use yourself. People don't even know that they're a human tuning fork.
Yes.
We
We are
are
energy. I mean,
transmitters
obviously.
and receivers.
Hmm.
So it's sharing with people that now you know that you're this. You can use a pendulum or you can use your body as a pendulum,
Hmm.
teaching them tools, creating a thoughts box. So one of the things that I share with my clients is, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts.
Right.
So
But you are
therefore you
not
can
your
change
thoughts.
them.
What a great line. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. I should write that down and put it. I like visual, put it on a card and put it on the wall. You are not your thoughts. You're
Yeah.
the thinker of your thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. I'm going to use that one for my
Yeah.
kids.
You're not your thoughts. You're the
Yeah.
thinker of them. And if people have a hard time shutting off Moaning Myrtle, then write your thought on a piece of paper and I have them create a thoughts box.
Ah,
So put your
I
thought
love
in the thoughts
practical.
box,
Yep. I love
close the
practical.
lid, yeah, and walk away.
Yep.
Because now you're going to give your mind space
Hmm.
to find an answer instead of being on the catastrophic train of going forward,
Yeah.
forward, forward, forward.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah. So then we have, after that one, after having the series of using pendulums or tools or different things,
Hmm.
um, we have a workshop that is directed around timelines and how we choose what we choose.
Hmm. Okay.
So there are multiple timelines available for any one of us to step into, and we do it all the time with our thoughts if you want to get into that
Hmm.
energy and frequency. And there used to be a movie, and I can't remember the name now, and it was a guy that would keep getting on the same train and passing this same girl all of the
I
time.
think it's called, I think it might be Sliding Doors, but I might be
Sliding
wrong.
Doors. I love that movie
Yeah.
because that gives you an idea of timelines.
Hmm.
It gives you, you pass people so many times. We choose, we, so this analogy is that there are many threads. Every
Hmm.
single thread is a timeline and a choice that we can make.
Hmm.
Once we choose something and we step onto that pathway, all of the timelines dissolve and collapse, and then we
Mm.
create new ones.
right? There's always creating. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
There's two more things I'd like to talk about. First of all, I want to make a point that once you and Margaret decide to do a lot of these courses online, I'd like to I'd like to have you both as my guests again.
Oh, that would be
Because
wonderful.
the information that you're sharing, I'm thinking like that could be like so many people could watch that like across the world, let alone just Canada and Ontario. But the information that you're sharing, I just think is really vital, and I'd love to help get it out to as many people as possible. The
Hmm.
second thing I'd like to discuss is you were showing me earlier a journal that that I think would be wonderful for people for yourself. This 21 days to rediscover yourself personal empowerment journal. I love that. What a great gift that would be for yourself. And I'm trying to work on self care, and I think everyone should be working on self care. Or if you have someone else that you feel in your life could benefit from that journal, can I get you to speak about the journal?
Absolutely. This journal was co-authored between myself and my friend Yolanda K. Coleman.
Hmm.
And it started because I wanted to be able to provide tools for people to be able to break through that unconscious mind and
Yes.
to be able to take it home and go through. And there's lots and lots and lots of spaces in this journal. And every day there's a different set of questions. And there was the question that started it for me was the understanding that I'm the only one driving my life,
Hmm.
and did I
Yes.
want my unconscious moaning Myrtle to be in the driver's seat driving me where she wants to go and me being a
Hmm.
passenger just coming along? Or did I
Yeah.
want to put her in the back seat and me actually drive where I wanted to go?
Yes. We're
So
all
there's so
responsible.
many questions in this journal. And we also have a private Facebook group.
Okay.
So of the same name, 21 Days to Rediscover Yourself. And this private Facebook group, I interact every day. I do videos in there. And this is
Hmm.
a way for me to be able to support people.
Hmm. Hmm.
I,
As they're mhm.
yeah,
As they're going through their healing journal, sorry, their healing journey. And I'm thinking about you from where you were to where you are now. It's astounding. Like your story is amazing. You have every right to share that. That's like with other people and help them through that. I love that.
do you know one of the biggest things that I learned about my unconscious mind? And I was raised with a mom, like I said, that had mental
Mm.
health. And because my entire family revolved around taking care of my mum, there was a program inside my unconscious mind that said, the only way you'll ever be loved is when you're sick.
Mm. Oh, yes.
And I created a car accident that took me 10 years to heal from.
Mm.
We spend our entire adult life until we begin to choose something different,
Yes.
operating from our childhood pain and trying to avoid it,
Yes.
we end up recreating it.
Yeah. And so you have to recognize it first and then make the decision to change it.
Yeah,
I am a big believer that everyone is responsible for everything in their lives. So when I hear people say, oh, she made me feel, no, no, she didn't make you do anything. You
yeah,
allowed this to happen. Yeah, no, you're responsible for everything. Instead of blaming everyone else, take perfect self responsibility. I want to speak about that journal. I love that journal. I can think of so many people that could benefit from something like that. And I know it would take more than 21 days, but I think it's a great beginning for
great
people to
start.
start their healing process. Thank you. I would like to say thank you so much. I'm going to remind the listeners that, of course, we'll be including all of Karen's information so that you can contact her. If for any reason you can't contact her, of course, contact us at Books in Line at 905 571 2665. We would be happy to introduce you guys and introduce you to each other. Make sure that you can meet. Wonderful, wonderful podcast. Karen, thank you so much for sharing your personal story and also reminding us all that we can make changes, that we're not just stuck in this life. we are completely responsible for ourselves, and we absolutely can make changes the way that you did it wonderfully in your life. I'm really happy to hear about what's happened to you. Thank you for sharing. That was wonderful. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. And the biggest investment you'll ever make is in yourself.
And that I agree with.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.